I just noticed how nice the blinds look in the background. I should do a recording every time in the morning. Um, ooh. So, like I said yesterday, I like to start my day out with a noir during Noirvember because I never know how long I'm going to be at work or what's going to happen, and I just want to make sure I get my noir in. So, and also, I know noir is sort of a dark nighttime thing, but like one, there's no sun when I wake up, so it's still dark. And two, it's kind of nice to start the day out with a noir, and you're just like, the world is terrible. Um, but the one I started out with, um, actually had sort of a bittersweet ending. I don't want to spoil it, but it was less grim than I thought it was going to be. It was heading towards super grim for a little bit. Um, and I think that's because it's a neo noir. So it's from 1964, and I feel like if this film had been made 20 years earlier, definitely, but even 10 years earlier, it would have had a much grimmer ending. So this was Samuel Fuller's The Naked Kiss, written, directed, and produced by the one, the only Samuel Fuller. I watched it on Filmstruck, which, if you weren't paying attention yesterday, Filmstruck finally launched yesterday. You should check it out, and I'm not just saying that because I work there and I do the social media, but Filmstruck is fantastic, and I'm very excited to finally get to watch something on it. Well, I did some beta testing, but to actually, get the full service, it's beautiful. So there's lots of noir and neo noir. So check that out. So this was from 1964. It came out a year after Shock Corridor, which is also fantastic. And if you have not seen Shock Corridor, you should check that out. It stars Constance Towers, who was also in Shock Corridor as a prostitute. It has one of the most famous and just downright dynamite opening sequences. You've probably seen it floating around. There's a woman just going like this, hitting somebody, and the next thing you know, she's trying to get money from somebody. You're not really sure what's happening, and oh my God, she's bald. And you're like, what is happening? Later, you find out why it was she was bald. In that opening sequence, she is a prostitute. She arrives at a new town. She's clearly still a prostitute, but something about the town and waking up one more time feeling dirty, she decides to change her life and becomes, someone is kind to her, and she becomes a nurse, and she thinks she's fallen in love, only to discover that love is a horrible, horrible thing, and that you can fall in love with terrible people. I'm not gonna, I don't want to spoil it because there's some great twists and turns, but that's what happens, and then things start seeming dark again. And what the film is really doing is a handful of things. It's humanizing prostitution. It's showing how women end up in these situations. It's talking about how we try to moralize everybody, and the fact that prostitutes are not the only people who are immoral. Not that I'm going to put quotes on immoral for prostitutes, but like the immorality runs the spectrum from prostitutes to like average small town citizens is kind of what it's saying. Um, it also is showing that there's double sides to everybody, and that some people who look immoral on one side are actually really great on the reverse, and people who look great on one side are actually immoral on the reverse. It's another one of those small town hypocrisy movies, which I'm always a fan of. And it's also really about the independence of women and the determination of women and the strength of women. And it's just a very pro-woman film. But it doesn't just make women into angels, including the prostitute. There's some terrible women as well, because as anyone will tell you, women are not angels, but they can be. And they can be good, they can be bad, they can be everything. And this film shows you the gamut of that, and it's just great, and such an amazing performance from Constance Towers. She's in pretty much every scene. She just rocks it. It's a great film. It's in black and white. It's from 1964, but it's in black and white, so you still get that black and white noir feel. You get that hopeless, the world is a gutter feel, which is always important. Um, there's a Criterion Collection edition as well. So I watched it on Filmstruck, on the Criterion channel on Filmstruck. But there's a Criterion edition. It's got lots of special features. Criterion's done really well by Samuel Fuller. You can get a lot of his films through them. So I highly recommend this. It's really great. 1964's The Naked Kiss, written, directed, and produced by the one, the only Samuel Fuller.